Introducing Wondersuite from Bluehost.com. Website creation is hard, but now with Bluehost, you can answer a few simple questions about your business and get a unique WordPress website or store right away. From there, you can customize your design, colors, and content. And Bluehost automatically helps you get found in search engines like Google and Bing. From step-by-step guidance to suggested plugins, Bluehost makes WordPress wonderful for everyone. Go to bluehost.com/wondersuite.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I do make everything about me.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. We also know that price does too. So if you see a lower price somewhere else, we'll match it. Plus, you get free and fast delivery. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
At Highland, we're all about celebrating little wins and little ways to innovate digital processes. There's no customer pain point too small for us to help with. Maybe that's why more than half of the Fortune 100 looks to Highland to connect their content and data, improve processes, and turn little efficiencies into big wins for their customers and clients. Highland, intelligent content solutions for innovators everywhere at highland.com.
Today we are reaching back into our archives to share some of our favorite stories with women over 40. Each of these women has started something special, and we wanted to make sure our new listeners didn't miss out on hearing these conversations. Old or new to the podcast, we hope each of these stories inspires you to consider your own possibilities. Enjoy. Pursuing your future doesn't end at 40. In fact, it may mark the beginning of knowing who you are, what you're capable of, and what you really want. But knowing what's next and how to get there can be a challenge, especially when old narratives play on repeat. Liberty Road is here to share stories so that you can consider your possibilities, pursue your purpose, and move into your future with intention. I'm your host, Netta Jones, and we're here to listen, learn, and liberate dreams one episode at a time. This time, we've got a really cool, well, we always have really cool women here. I can't say that the last 17 haven't been awesome. But today we've got a really special story behind this brand. And I'm excited to have Ira Green in studio with us from freedomdeodorant.com. Don't get confused. I love that you're Freedom and we're Liberty. This is going to be great. This is going to be a great episode.
4th of July, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, Ira, tell us a little bit about your company and sort of how it came to be.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
This is such a pleasure, and this is so cool. And I get to come out to California, which
yes,
I love
we'll
to
have
do.
you anytime.
Right?
Yeah,
nice and cool here from Las Vegas, Nevada.
I know. Except for it's maybe been too cool. We need
you think
the
so?
sun. Yeah.
Come over to 110 degree
okay.
weather.
No,
feel
we're
free.
good.
Yeah.
We're all set.
Yeah, no.
set.
So, thank you. But I do want to tell you, how we came about.
Yeah.
We got a pretty cool story. So if I do say so myself. But I had a few years ago, I had 3 friends diagnosed with breast cancer, and they were 32, 41, and 43. And they were diagnosed within a year of each other.
Wow.
And, it was the oddest thing, 3 different kinds of cancers, 3 different treatments. And the one thing across the board the doctors were saying was start putting natural products on your body, stay away from the chemicals, and one doctor said, I'd advise you not to wear antiperspirant. And I thought, okay, that is so strange. Like, they're not telling you to drink less. They're not that they were drinkers or anything like that. But the stuff you tend to hear about wasn't what they were necessarily saying. And so I did a little research. I'm a crazy single mom of 3 daughters, so I thought, okay, what's this antiperspirant thing? And I looked it up, and, you hear a lot of good, bad, and ugly on it. And I tried to drown out the noise. Yeah. But what I didn't know was that antiperspirant was a drug by the FDA. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Well, after I checked out your website, I learned that. But I knew it wasn't good. I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know all the reasons why. So
right there was like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. It's an over-the-counter drug. I'm a person that doesn't even like to take ibuprofen unless I have to,
Right.
And here I am putting an over-the-counter drug that technically changes the way my body works. Every day I'm putting this on. And I'm putting it on right next to my breast. And I have 3 friends that are diagnosed with breast cancer. So call me crazy, but if it looks like a duck, act like a duck, quacks like a duck, maybe I don't want to have the duck.
Yeah.
So I did what every normal human being would do. And I ran over to a local health food store and I bought a natural deodorant. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Like 2 hours later, I'm sitting in a meeting and, nice outfit on, that table full of men and women talking. And all of a sudden I kind of looked around and went, is that me? And your arms kind of clamp down and you're like, oh my God, that is me. And you don't want to hug anybody. You're just trying to beeline out of it.
You don't want to be animated.
No. And I literally smelled like I just came back from Colorado, singing Kumbaya with my buddies. And I was like, no. So I went and bought my second deodorant and my third and my fourth and my fifth. And it was just nonstop. It was either they didn't work. They smelled like trees. I don't want to smell like a tree.
Yeah.
Like whose idea was it to put tea tree in everything? It's good on my yoga mat. It is not good on my body. Okay.
Yeah.
The only kind of patchouli I want is the Tom Ford kind.
Yeah.
Really. So they didn't smell good. I had to put my hand in a jar or something, and it would get under my nails, which was like gross.
Yeah.
And or I had to take a rock and put it underwater and put it underneath. It was so hard to switch, so hard to go natural. And I'm like, why is it so hard? Like, why can't it just be normal? Why can't it smell great? Why can't it look great? Because I don't know if you've seen some of the packaging that's out there.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And I like my bathroom. I like the packaging I put out
I
there.
respect my bathroom and the products in it. Yeah.
Have you ever bought a product and you just want to put it on your counter, and it just looks so pretty? It wasn't any of the deodorants I bought. I always kept them underneath the counter because they didn't match my aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why can't it be pretty? Why can't it smell good? And then, by the way, can it work? Like all day. I remember there was one deodorant that was in Sephora, and I was so excited, and it was like about $20, and it smelled really good. It smelled beautiful. It had really pretty packaging, and I was applying it 3-4 times a day. And I thought that was normal,
Wow.
but I just didn't want to believe that it didn't work for me, and it didn't work for me. And what I realized is you don't have to apply 3-4 times a day. You could actually have a great product that doesn't hurt you, that is completely natural, that looks great, that smells great, and is actually effective, if not more effective than what you were wearing before.
Now, you're driven by this story of your 3 friends
Yes.
and the fact that you have these 3 daughters that are at some point going to start wearing some kind of deodorant, antiperspirant. Yeah. And you're like, well, how do I resolve this drug issue? Okay,
Right.
That's one. And then you test out the products that are available and you don't like them for various reasons. How do you get to the point where there's that problem and you start a company? Like, did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur and then you're like, I think I'll dabble here? Or was this an issue of circumstance and even sort of the inner activist in you who wanted to do something for your friends?
I think it was a little bit of both. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be an entrepreneur, because a lot of things that people don't tell you in starting a business is a lot of things that people don't tell you in starting a business. It's not everybody is Steve Jobs, not everybody's flying around on private jets and rocking it. And, like I always think of the Lord song, the tiger in chains.
Yeah.
It's not like that, right? You're working 24/7. It's uncertainty. It's, how much revenue are we bringing in this month? There's a lot to do with it. So it wasn't exactly the path I wanted to walk down. But what I realized is I actually owned a business before that. I had a financial firm for 10 years because I was a financial advisor for 18. And that's kind of independent because even though you work underneath a platform, you're pretty independent. You have to go get the clients.
Yeah, you're the one hustling.
You're the one hustling, making your own money. And it was interesting. One of the best things that happened to me was when I worked for Citigroup. And I had my boss come up to me and tell me that women should be barefoot and pregnant at home. And I actually said that was the best.
I'm sorry. Can we just, who are these people that we always hear an anecdote about in so many, interviews that we do, interviews that we listen to? Who are they? And like, what, are they not listening to the news? Are they not watching TV?
This was a while ago.
Okay.
I'm older. So,
watch it.
Hey, I knew exactly what you were talking about earlier. Remember that. that.
Okay.
So, and this was, 17, 18 years ago.
And how did that come out? Just why are you in the financial industry? You should be at home.
It's a long story.
Okay.
I was probably
it always is.
not the easiest employee either.
Okay.
I did demand a lot, and I was, I did well too,
Okay.
and there was I got a brand new boss who didn't like the fact that I was kind of challenging him on stuff. And the last time I challenged him, and I had just gotten married, was pregnant, and pregnant after I got married.
Yeah, okay.
It sounded kind of weird.
For your girls who are listening.
Just saying. It just came out, and I looked at him and I was like, that is the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. Because I walked right out that door and started my own financial firm. And if he didn't say that, I would have stayed there and probably put up with it and put up with it and put up with it. So little did I know I was a total entrepreneur. I mean, granted, I walked out, I drank I didn't drink because I was pregnant, but I really wanted to. I had a glass of wine. Okay. But
it's okay.
I ended up getting very sick. I can talk about that. But I was terrified. But it was something in me that I guess it didn't scare me to start a business. I already felt like I had one because I already had to go out and get clients. And my income was solely based on what I did, that it didn't scare me as much. So I didn't really know what that meant. I just knew that I had to do it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, it's not them going, I'm going to start my own business. They're going out there going, I just want to do this.
Sure.
I can't go to sleep until I do this. I can't figure
There's
this
this
out.
nagging.
It's this nagging.
Constant,
you can't go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So now get us from no good deodorant to do you start calling people that make the products that are on the back and saying hello? Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. Okay. Because it got to the point where I stunk really bad. Okay. I was going into I was volunteering at a kid's event.
Yeah.
And it was July and it was really hot.
In Vegas?
In Vegas.
Yeah.
And they had no air conditioning. And I'm like, oh, I'm down. I'm toast. Right. So I looked at the women that I was volunteering with and I'm like, I have to tell you this. I'm trying out a new natural deodorant. So if it stinks, it's me. Let's be upfront with it. Right. I bathe, but it could be this. Okay. And a friend of mine looked at me and she goes, well, why don't you make it? She goes, I make my own and I don't smell. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to turn into the woman who's making deodorant in her kitchen. What has happened to me? I was not the girl that watched Pinterest. I looked at Pinterest twice and felt like a really bad mother. Yeah. I did. I'm like, I can't do any of this stuff, right? I cannot frost cupcakes like that, right? Yeah. So I never looked at Pinterest. I wasn't huge on watching bloggers, if I had a moment of peace, because remember I ran a financial firm and I had 3 small kids as a single mom.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of downtime. My happy place was reading People magazine when it came in once a week. Right. And, so I didn't know about this stuff. And so she came over to my house. She showed me how to make it. And she just used a Pinterest recipe. That was it. And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, this could be so much better. And I remember hers being really grainy and yellowish and there you go. And, but it smelled good. And I'm like, there's a lot of great essential oils out there. We could play with this stuff. And I've always been a fan of cosmetics. Hello, most women are, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I remember, and this is kind of funny. I remember years ago, somebody asked me, if you weren't a financial advisor, what would you be? And I go, I'd be in the cosmetics industry.
Really?
Sure. I said that it was about 10 years ago. I will never forget that comment. And I went, that would have been so fun, to be in a business like that. And fast forward.
And here you are.
And here I am. And so I remember making it and having that moment of, oh my gosh, I can make this better. It just overtook me. I'm like, I can make this so much better. And I gave it to my friend Cindy to try out, right? And after I made 45 different batches, my kitchen you can walk into, there was no real food in there, but there was a lot of wax and powders and flowers and stuff like that. And she was going through chemo at the time. And
was she one of the 3?
She's the first of the 3, actually.
Okay.
And the breast cancer actually saved her life because they found the colon and ovarian at the same time. So,
oh my gosh.
Just a quick update. She's cancer-free. It's her daughter Ainsley's birthday today.
Oh.
And she's taking my kids on roller coasters right now in Vegas. So
I love it.
She's awesome. I mean,
that's awesome. Yeah.
So She was going through early onset menopause from the chemo and everything else. And I gave her the deodorant. And I remember I always bought a couple to give to her. And we'd always call each other like, this one didn't work. Another one bites the dust, right? And she called me crying a couple days later. And I was like, what happened? Like, what happened? Did you grow a limb? Like, what happened? And she goes, I don't smell.
Oh.
And I go, what? She goes, and then she's like crying and laughing at the same time. She's so happy. She was so happy. She smelled good. And it had been a long time. And she knew whatever she put on her body, it didn't hurt her. And she was going through enough already.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew this
I
is
have to do
something,
this.
that could change people's lives. It's freaking deodorant, right?
I know, but it's interesting because we have had moments, all of us, where we see something in the market, in a particular industry, where we say somebody should really make that better. It's a different thing when you're like, I'm the person that needs to make that better. When you really feel, like I said, that nagging or that call, like it's on me. I'm the person.
I went to sleep thinking about formulas and labels and what it would look like in containers and I don't know what happened. It all flooded into my head. I didn't own a deodorant company at the time. I owned a financial firm.
Sure.
And all I could think about was, how do I mix this differently? How do I make it less this, less that, more this, more that? Then I'm like, who's going to buy it? I remember that. Who's going to buy it, right? So I went through the proper channels though, because you got to remember, I was a financial advisor. I worked with business owners. So I got a business license. I put in the trademark. You know, I did a lot of the backdoor stuff before we went forward. And when I launched it in May, so it's just 2 years ago, right?
That's amazing.
When we launched it in May, I was like so happy when we got 5 orders. I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like the worst website, the worst packaging, everything, right? I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah. But in spite of that, you got orders.
I just wanted to see. I just figured, you know what am I going to wait for? I've never been one to wait for something to be perfect. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If you wait for something to be perfect, it's too late.
I think that's a sign of success. It's the enemy. What is it that don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good enough? I always say you just got to keep moving. And in that you iterate and you you pivot, you make new decisions about who your customer base is, your packaging, your ingredients, whatever. You got to keep moving so that you know how to
you don't know what
things.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You know what works for you, but I don't know what works for you or for you. But you know what? If I put it out there, you're going to tell me and I'm going to fix it, hopefully. Yeah. You know? And so, exactly that. And I remember I took a little cooler and I went down to the Strip in Las Vegas with a cooler full of deodorants. And I started knocking on doors. I swear to you.
Knocking on
spas.
You're kidding.
No, because, one of the biggest things, I am such a brand snob. Thank you. That was a better word, right? Total brand snob in a sense of I like my good brands, right? Yeah. And there's certain stores that I bought brands from and they didn't carry our products, but I couldn't knock on the doors like Sephora or Nordstrom's just yet, could I? Yeah. Because they're big and I'm just starting out and I'm in Vegas and I'm local and there's some great spas out here. What if they just put up a couple and we see how it does and da-da-da. It wasn't that easy.
Of course.
Okay. It never is. But we got one spa to say, listen, we love what you're doing. We love your story. We love that you're trying to do this, but we don't carry deodorants.
Well, I was actually going to say, I don't really know a spa that carries.
And I looked at, there's plenty now.
Really?
Henriksen in Beverly Hills, by the way. We got to put a shout out for them.
Nice.
No, there's plenty now. And I thought it was the weirdest thing. Why would they not? You're going in there and getting body treatments. Every time I've gotten a massage, a scrub, anything else, I've sat in the spa, in the pool and everything else. What do you do when you get out? You're going to shower probably, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you do when you get out of the shower? You put lotion on?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do after that? You put on deodorant.
Yeah.
But they don't sell deodorant.
No.
And I don't want to use their spray on.
I was going to say that and then they have their spray on that's free if the spa's nice that you can use. And you don't, I don't
want to use that.
Yeah.
I just had 3 friends go through cancer.
That's right.
The last thing I want to do is put that on. And by the way, the minute I'm going to walk out the door, I'm going to be smelly because I'm just that person. Right.
Yeah.
But they don't sell it. There's a gap there. Right. So I'm like, how do you guys not see this gap? And I had this brilliant spa director, Shannon Marinari. I'm going to throw it out there. She's going to kill me for that. But at a very, very prestigious spa, 4 Seasons. And she said, I love what you do. I hate your packaging. I said, okay, so you're telling me that if I change my packaging, right, that you're going to bring it in. She goes, I'd give it a shot. Oh, I love Shannon because that was a maybe. That wasn't a no. That was a maybe. 3 months later, I sent it to her. I sent her a picture. We worked really hard on it to repackage it. I'll tell you right now, when I sent her the picture, I still didn't even have the container. It was all on a computer. I was just hoping it would look like that when it came in, right? And we live and learn, right? And she brought it in when it did come in, and we had to tweak a few things, but it did come in like that. And we got it out there, and I showed up 3 days later to do training. And I said, where'd you guys put it? Like, you haven't put it out? You've been waiting for me? That's so sweet. She goes, we sold out.
Oh my gosh.
They sold out in 2 days. I was like, what? And
she must have been shocked.
She was in shock.
She had a hunch, but it doesn't sound like she anticipated that.
No, but you know what though? She thought outside of the box, which I got to give her so much credit for. And she had the power to do that. In her company, yay, 4 Seasons, and empowering their spa directors. I love that. And she did it. She took a chance, on this little company and just said, okay, well, we'll see. And you know what I didn't know was that she switched herself too. She's our frankincense peach girl. And she actually did an interview with American Spa October of this last year and said, I don't leave the house without this.
It's on your on the press page.
Yeah, on our press page. And she didn't tell us she did that. And
that's very cool.
Who knew that at that point that it would take it to that level? And that began the journey.
So you initially were starting out by going to other retailers.
Yes.
You didn't intend to necessarily retail this on your own site, or was that also going to happen?
We did, but the site was not pretty.
Oh, that's right.
And not only that, for me, one of the biggest challenges I had was figuring out websites, social media is a whole different story. But
we'll get to that.
Oh, I know. But website in general, I'm talking to all these site designers, and they want to charge me so much money to do this. And, it's just, I didn't know what they were talking about. I felt like they were speaking a different language consistently. I'm like, why can't you just put a picture of our deodorant up there? He goes, it doesn't work that way. You got this back end piece, this front end piece, this everything else.
Sure.
Fast forward 2 years later, I could definitely tell you how to put together a website. There's no question about it, but we learned a lot, and that scared me. That scared me to almost a paralysis. I think when people get scared, they're afraid to move. Mm-hmm. And I was afraid to move. We did this website, and I remember when we launched it, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't make it better. I didn't work on it because it scared me. So I didn't want to focus on that, so we got it to a physical place. We had about 5 retailers in the first month. And then we met an Amazon partner, and she was wonderful. And she taught us a lot. She brought in our product, and it went from selling 5 pieces to 25 pieces to 250 pieces to so on, to so on, so on. And really taught me as we did that whole process. So we were mainly Amazon spa, small spa retailer in our own website. And that was it.
Let me back up real quick, because there are going to be people listening that want to understand some of the, just like you were talking about, the back end, front end on the website. Some people that are not going to be clear exactly about what you're saying and need to have that clarity. When you talk about the Amazon partner, that was a retailer who brought your line in but was retailing on Amazon?
Yeah. So they're kind of a third party,
right?
And there's a lot of third parties, and a lot of people, don't do that. Do it on your own. No, no. Amazon's a whole beast. You got to look at Amazon as a store, kind of like you would look at Target or Nordstrom's.
Sure.
You have to put Amazon in the same level, okay? And within Target and Nordstrom's, they have buyers, and they have, brand ambassadors and everything else. And you got to look at that as somebody's got to do that for you on Amazon. You can't just put a product on Amazon and expect it just to sell.
That's right. It's only meaningful distribution if people know it's there.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's buried in the millions of products that Amazon sells.
Oh, we were one of 39,000 deodorants. How is anybody going to find freedom?
Yeah.
So it was I think one of the smartest things I did was to go with Corey in the sense of she taught me a whole whole bunch. That's one.
Mhm.
But not only that, like she managed that for me. Like I can't imagine brand new person going out there and trying to start a business, get your retailers, get everything else, plus manage Amazon, make sure everything's okay and everything. She did all that for me. And yes, I had to make a concession. You know, we had to sell at wholesale to her, right? But okay.
Yeah.
Like really, it's just like you're wholesaling to a store and they're taking care of it and they're growing. They grew us completely.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. Like a lot of times we think we want to hold on to 100% of whatever, but 100% of 10 is not very much.
No.
10% of 100, 10% of 1,000, 10% of 10,000 go on is meaningful money, and that is actually a business. Now you've got something to grow on.
For sure.
So people need to sometimes shift their paradigm. There's a time and a season, I think, for both. But what I love about you is you knew in the first few months you understood this. You understood like I need to scale.
Right.
That needs to be that's where our growth is going to come from. It's not going to be from creating different verticals. So even though you have that now, and we'll talk about that.
If you hire a sales team, you're going to pay your sales team and
That's
they're
right.
going to get you out to wholesale
That's right.
accounts.
Somebody's
right?
making
Somebody's
money.
Gonna do
that
it.
margin is going to
Great.
somebody.
So why don't you get somebody who's an expert to do it in that field? And you got to remember too, when you go on Amazon, you have Amazon fees, you have FBA fees.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I mean, it's just an additional fee on there. And if you priced your product right and you did your research and you've got, you know what your costs are and you know your numbers. And if you did all that part right, then that's fine.
And how did you come up with pricing, having tried all those natural products that didn't have nice packaging? I'm looking at your packaging now, not just the individual, but the kind of collective group package you have. Like that's money. How did you know how to price yourself when a lot of people in the green or natural product area are really looking? They don't care if it smells like trees and looks. A lot of them don't. I do.
Right.
I do.
Right.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So how did you figure that piece out? Because most of your competitors probably weren't as luxury minded,
right,
as you.
So there's competitors that are more expensive, competitors that are less expensive. Sure. We're kind of right in the middle, and that was my goal. That's the first thing I looked at is what are my competitors priced at? You know. So I had to get a range. Like, here's my low end, here's my high end, right? Of the ones that I wanted to compete against. Let's put it that way, right? Mm-hmm. So this is what I've got.
That's a really important distinction, by the way. The ones you wanted to compete against. It wasn't that every single deodorant or antiperspirant was a competitor.
No. If you look at that, you're going to get boggled down in the whole sea of competition. You know what I mean? You really got to see, like, who do I want to be like? Mm-hmm. Like, who's my idol? You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to do what these guys are doing, right? So I had to look at what are they doing, you know, and I wanted to fit somewhere right in the middle. I noticed there was a gap in the middle and there wasn't a lot of people in that gap. Uh-huh. So I figured that was my gap. So here's my X target number. Like, this is what I want to sell for. Okay. If that's what I want to sell for, cut it in half. That's my wholesale price. Yep. If that's my wholesale price, what is my multiple for growth? And it, you know, across the board, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 times is really the goal to be at. I did my research. Again, my background is finance. Even though I will tell you, coming in and starting your own business on this side in a totally different field, you forget a lot of stuff that you knew. And but you know, and then I did a multiple against that, and I said, okay, let me back it up. What do I have to do? What do the ingredients look like? And remember, by this point too, I had already called a ton of manufacturers. I had called a couple chemists. We had an idea. I knew the cost of this because I was making it already. You know. So
does that mean you could negotiate a little bit with them because you understood what those the ingredient costs were? What about? So you were talking about having this multiple that you could sort of back into, but a lot of times that we get to that number based on volume. And when you're a startup, it's really hard to, you know that if I buy 10,000 units, my unit cost is going to go down substantially.
Right.
And then I can make that up margin-wise in my wholesale price or my retail price. But it's really hard to buy that sort of volume when you're first starting out. So
Not really. So,
okay.
Yes and no. Like, yes, obviously, you're buying 10,000 pieces of one thing. You're going to get a huge discount.
That's a garage full of deodorant if we don't sell it.
Welcome to my house for a long time.
Yeah.
I actually kicked my daughter out of her room. We used her room as storage because I had really good air conditioning in there. So
you're like, my college plan for you is going in this room.
Trust me, give up your room. It'll be worth it in the end, right?
Yeah.
So, I think there is a penalty for thinking small and a penalty for thinking big, on both sides. And I think, again, it's that happy medium in the middle that if you call someone and you ask them, listen, I can't buy 500 pounds, right, of baking soda, right? But I could buy 50 pounds of it. What can you do for me? Can you help me on shipping? Can you help me on something else? And they'll say, well, if you buy maybe a couple other ingredients here, we'll give you a bulk discount. Great. I looked a lot, and I also, when you go to order stuff online too, they'll always give you bulk discounts, and you'll see it. And it's the biggest one that's usually the best one, not the most pieces, but you'll see that maybe between 25 pounds and 75 pounds is the biggest drop in price, and then beyond that is only like 10 cents. But before that is like $2.
You were looking for those sweet spots across the board to make up for the price.
Absolutely. And then I kind of backtracked it of like, if I bought all of this stuff now, I would save X amount of dollars overall, and I can make X amount of deodorants, because we got a commercial kitchen in the beginning, and so we kind of had an assembly line of making it ourselves. So we could buy in a little bit more.
Back up. So getting a commercial kitchen is just getting the license for your kitchen in your home, or you worked outside in a commercial kitchen?
I have to.
Because there is a new, I can't remember what it's called, but people who are making like jams and things like that in their home, and you can, at least in California, you can get an in-home permit to do that and sell those products. But that's not what you're talking about. Okay.
No, we did that for a minute, right? At the very, 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 very beginning, we did that for a minute, okay? But I have to be honest with you. I have 3 kids, right?
No one wants peanut butter in their deodorant.
Nobody does. Yeah. And not only that, I have friends that are like, oh, we get everything spotless and clean. And I'm like, but you can't. Like, you really need a sterile environment. You really need to do nothing else in that environment. It's a great way to start. I recommend it to absolutely everybody. It's a great way to start. But the minute that you can get it into a place where it's sterile, and now we've got manufacturers, of course, but it made such a huge difference just to go somewhere where we knew that it was cleaned up, it was taken care of, it was sterile, and I didn't have to destroy my house. I still destroyed my house, but it was, there's something to be said about that, and also too, you got to think of shelf life too when you're using this stuff. If you're making it in your house, do you know how to test it for your shelf life or anything like that? These are all things, because I'll give you a great example. Do you know shea butter has got a 6-month shelf life if you get it organic? Do you know what happens to it after 6 months? It goes rancid. Don't you want that in your products?
Yeah.
It's like, and how do you keep it cool? And how do you do this? And how do you do that? So,
which all become issues when you can't have certain stabilizers based on chemicals because you're creating an all-natural product.
Absolutely. So, we wanted to make the shift to the commercial kitchen just at least to make it on the cleaner side. And then we wanted to shift over to the manufacturer like that. Like, we wanted to go as quickly as humanly possible because I did know we could do it better. And I did want to make sure that it was the best product that people could get out there too. So in so many different ways.
I love the thoroughness of kind of from beginning to now, how you considered creating the product and giving, from the packaging, your own desire to have something that was pretty, influenced by the Four Seasons buyer desire to have something that was pretty. But I love that there was consistency in that. And also in you talking about your background as in the financial industry and how growing that business, that you had customers, you had relationships, you had to build relationships, maintain relationships. Those are all things that have informed who you are as an entrepreneur. It doesn't change. It's just, it's harder.
It's so much harder.
But it doesn't change in terms of you continue to cultivate those skills.
So one thing I forgot to leave out, I still ran a financial
Wait, you forgot to leave out?
I forgot to leave it out.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing, I left it out.
I love that.
But I ran the financial from when I was doing it for a whole year. I did both.
Yeah.
So it was
wow.
It was
as
pretty
a single
tough.
mom.
As a single mom. listen, I have a great ex-husband,
Yeah.
So he was really diligent on helping me out with the girls and stuff like that. But it was, you come home and you're at home alone with 3 kids and they're on you. There's no, hey, I'm going to research this. I'm going to email
which means
this.
you're staying up trying to do this stuff at crazy hours,
Oh,
and
I
then
don't
you're
s-
getting up early to
Right.
do your other job.
And then my mom wanted me to find a man. Anyway,
Okay.
so we're going to put that aside.
Mom.
But mom, right?
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, you're doing that around the clock. I mean, that's all I was doing until I was about a year ago in March that I sold the financial firm finally and bought myself some freedom to really build the business that I wanted to build.
That's awesome. I love that it was the opportunity was there. You took advantage of not only the opportunity that, where you saw some negative space in the market, like, I can create something, but the opportunity that you had created in the 17 years of growing a financial industry. You were like, I could continue to do this. You were obviously successful, but you know what? I feel like that nagging to do something else, this gift of being able to financially, having the mind to, having cultivated some of the skills to, and having the financial freedom to. And I don't mean to say that you were flying around on jets.
Oh,
I just
God,
mean
no.
to say that you could take that risk.
I could go, a year or two and not have to necessarily collect an income, and be able to put that right back into the company. It's not forever. It still scares the heck out of me,
Sure.
at times. And, but yeah, I mean, what I didn't know was I built my last business to build this business. And that's when I look back on it. And that's when I'm like, wait a minute, I was really, like you said, I was building my own freedom.
Speaking of Steve Jobs, we're going to go back to him. I think in his Stanford commencement speech that you can Google, YouTube, whatever, he says that it's not until we are able to look back that we can kind of connect the dots. And I think that's so true. Like you didn't know that as a financial advisor.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
You didn't know that. But then in retrospect, you can say, oh my gosh, the intention of that was to build for this and for this future. And perhaps there's even another intention beyond deodorant, which we're going to get into in a second.
I was just going to say that. I was like, what am I putting out there now? It's like I'm very carefully washing everything. Yeah.
Let me just ask you that really quickly. So you, in addition to the deodorants, you've got this body spray, you've got the lip balms.
Lip balms, yeah.
And so I have to believe that you're sort of like building an empire in the green space around beauty products. Is that the intention? Is it like, I kind of like this space. I think I want to play in it a little bit more.
So you're asking me if I want to rule the world?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. With me. Together.
Come with me. It's funny. I have my daughter Stella. It's so funny. She reminds me of like, what is that? That evil. Dr. Evil.
Yeah. What is his name with the weird cat thing?
Austin Powers.
Yeah. Austin Powers.
Yeah.
And
it's so funny. I always looked at her and I go, you're going to rule some small country at some point in time. I just hope it's for good and not evil. Right.
It is. It is. We're putting it out there.
I grew up again, immigrant Jewish girl, like Estee Lauder was out. I remember, we loved the Estee Lauder products and everything else. And looking back at those journeys and listening to a lot of these amazing women that have built these companies. And I would love to even be considered to be in that category with them. We are building out new products. I can't really talk about them just yet, but there will be one. So
that just means we have to go on the site and stay tuned. Right.
Stay tuned. Follow our freedom journey.
Yeah.
But there are going to be newer products, I think, that are, I don't think I know,
okay.
That will be coming out. I know we've got something coming out in the next 6 weeks that's going to be pretty revolutionary and cool.
Okay.
And then we are expanding beyond the deodorant side.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. That's awesome. We will stay tuned for that. If you could go back and just give yourself one piece of freedom. So one piece of freedom.
See, I love it. We're
one
ready
piece,
to over
one
everything.
Piece that you are. One piece of advice. So go back to the beginning of this 2 years ago and give yourself one bit of wisdom, advice, encouragement. What would it be?
I don't know if there would be one thing, but
Okay.
I think the most common thing that I'm starting to find is trust myself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds so weird because
No,
I'm a
it
pretty
doesn't.
strong woman and stuff, but I had a lot of people come in and tell me how to do things and I listened to them. And when I listened to them, I gave them my power a little bit. And because I thought they knew better and because they were in the space. And it never led to anything good. I have to be honest with you, and we were just talking, somebody called me ignorant the other day because I didn't read an email. And I said, I did read the email. It just didn't make sense. So if I'm the ignorant one, maybe you just don't know how to put together stuff, and but it's interesting because 2 years ago, I actually probably would have listened to them and said, okay, well, all right, then you could do it. Or, given people a lot of, just trust myself. Like I'm okay. Just because I've never been in the beauty field doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing, and just because somebody else built a bank, or something like that doesn't mean that they're that much smarter than me. This is my business. I got it to where it is. I want smart, amazing, great people around me, but I got to learn how to trust myself a little bit more.
I love that. I think all of us can stand to hear that. So we've talked, in keeping with this theme, we've talked a lot about how social media used to be do you do it? Do you not do it? And now it's like, you have to do it. It's how you do it and which platforms you focus on.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about kind of how you've begun building relationships with your consumer base, both those who are existing consumers and those who you want to be your kind of target consumer, through social media, and what platforms you like to use.
So, it's a trial and error.
Yeah.
We've gone through multiple social media partners. We've tried to do it ourselves. We're still going through the, finding a space of where are we comfortable? One thing I know is Facebook, I understand. Instagram, I don't. Trying to do it yourself, unless you're really strong at it, is not a good idea. Because it takes a lot of time. Because you got to do research. You got to look at other people's pages. You've got to there's a lot to do with it. And you have to be pretty savvy to do it. You also have to figure out, do you want an ROI on it? I mean, what is your goal on it? Because something you just said is very interesting, because it's not whether I'm going to do it. It's I have to do it. And the reason you have to do it is because it's a sales platform for you, and I hate to say that. And everybody's like, well, it brings, brand loyalty. And it does. It gives you information about the brand.
But at the end of the day,
you should see what some of these influencers are charging,
Oh, no.
Somebody's making money off this, and you should be too. And I look at one of our competitors like Native and stuff. They use social media to actually sell their company for $100 million.
Are you kidding?
No, not at all. They actually just sold. And they had no salespeople. They had no distribution whatsoever. It was all over Facebook and Instagram.
Wow.
And they did it kind of like a Harry's Shave Club. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
It's the exact same thing. So it's your new retailer is what social media is,
Okay, but how do we, because I often say, and maybe you'll correct me in this, but I often say you have to use it to be social. You can't be just throwing prices out to people. You have to engage them. So how do you give us advice on that fine line where we learn? It's sort of like being at a cocktail party and throwing your card out and saying, here's me, call me if you need to.
You got to have your small talk.
Yeah.
You got to have your little icebreaker.
So how do you do the small talk, but be mindful that at the end of the day, we're trying to convert these people.
We have a business.
Yeah.
And not only that, but not only do we have a business, but we want to get you off your old deodorant. We want to get you on a new freedom, I guess, on a new path to freedom. We want to get you using better products for yourself. We want to educate you. We want you to feel good about what you're doing. We don't want you to feel like you're the only one out there that's putting tea tree oil on their armpits and going, why does this smell so bad and not work? So it's kind of like, how do we do the whole thing? How do we educate you? How do we show you our product? How do we get feedback from you? Because that's also where our feedback comes from. We want to hear from our people.
Like never before, we're able to use them as focus groups. Use them. Use our friends, our followers, our the people who are customers, want to be customers. They've got something to say. They're telling us what they want.
I could ask a question. What do you think our next scent should be? And I could get an answer like that better than any beta test for me to go out and get, of all my friends. That's my favorite. They're like, oh, all my friends use your products. And I go, yeah. Did they give you feedback? No. But the minute I put it on social media, I get feedback just like
right
that.
away.
Yeah. Usually, you're, liberty and
That was Ira snapping, by the way, if you heard that. There's not like bombs going off in our room.
I love it.
So okay, what platforms do you use? Which platforms do you use?
So we're on Instagram and on Facebook.
Okay.
How do I forget that?
Yeah.
Right. Facebook, like I said, I love because I could interact more, and we just recently just switched some stuff up, and we're doing something different. So I'm really excited to see what our social media is going to be like in the next few months. Instagram, we're on, but it's not. I haven't figured that quite out yet, and I think it's a lot of trial and error. And I think you need to engage a lot with the people that are on there, not just getting likes. And also Facebook changed their algorithms all the time. And not only that, you can't ask people to like your page anymore. So it's very different. It constantly keeps changing, and you have to keep up with it. And there's people that do things like we've seen people that put blogs out there that say it's not sponsored. I have to tell you, yes, it is. Yeah. Most of the stuff that it is sponsored, again, back to, our recent competitor, that put blogs out there. And then all of a sudden, once they're sold, the blogs now say their name on it, but they were the same blogs that were out there before.
Are these blog posts that say that something wasn't sponsored and something was?
So you have to be very careful with stuff that you see out there nowadays. Not everybody puts that they're sponsored for stuff, and stuff is sponsored. Even when you get free product, that's considered you get free product, right? I've seen things that were not even that nice that were out there. So it's trying to figure out that fine line of just being truthful, telling people your story, and you just kind of have to keep getting it out there. I love Facebook though, because I feel like I can interact with a lot of people. I have a personal Facebook account that a lot of my friends go to, and I know how to post. I feel so bad, but I really don't.
So many of us that don't.
I have absolutely no idea how to repost on Instagram. FYI, it's been shown 3 times, and I've yet to figure it out. Okay, and I think that. Because I'm comfortable with it, and because most of my friends are on it too, that Facebook is kind of our baby. We really enjoy Facebook.
And you and I had talked before this about the demographic of Facebook being really meaningful for you.
Well, I'm not 25.
Mm-hmm. You look good though, girl. You look good.
Thank you. It's been pushed up a few times. Anyway, but it's so how do I put it? Like my kids can figure out the Instagram side. Sure. The Facebook side, I think the demographic's a little bit older. I think the demographic is a little bit more consumer driven. They know how to navigate it more, like, watching stories and whatnot, where it's not just a picture. They actually might read some of the stuff, or they'll watch the video from it.
Or ask you a question.
For sure. For sure. And like, Kate, who's sitting next to me, right? I literally had to ask her how to look at stories on Instagram. And they're like these quick 30-second pieces, and they're gone, right? Yeah. Well, I got to tell you, there's a few things on Facebook I know I keep coming back to, and that I even send to myself in Messenger. So I feel like maybe it's my short-term memory is going away, that I have to keep re-looking at stuff. But I think by having that, it's almost like you got your favorites, and you almost kind of like get your
Well, it sounds like it's not just that you prefer it, at least right now, but that your consumer
prefers it. Yeah.
And so that makes it really meaningful. It's interesting to me, though, because the type of product that you're creating, I would think would be a hit with millennials. And it's not that it's not, it's just that you haven't spent as much time on Instagram developing that.
Not necessarily true.
Okay.
Again, you got to look at the field, and you got to look at, what our end goal is, and how we want the brand we want to create for the company, and the first thing I said was Estee Lauder, and that's the brand that kind of always comes back to me, the Bobbi Browns of the world. I remember hearing her and just loving her and stuff. And those are brands that resonated with me, and those are brands that like my mom introduced me to. Yeah. And I'm not saying that a mom has to introduce anybody to freedom, or whatnot, but we really did make sense for like a mother and daughter, because we have a lavender citrus and we have a frankincense peach. You know what I mean? So I want it to be the brand that people just look at and is trustworthy. Whereas on the millennial side, what we see on the, on the younger side is they're still trying to find their brands. They're finding different brands. They keep testing the waters and whatnot. I kind of don't want to be that brand. I just want to be that consistent brand. I don't have to be up here. And we have a lot of competition too, everybody wants the younger generation. They forgot about me.
Yay! I know.
And
that's why we say we're here too.
You should not forget about me, because I buy the products still for my kids, and I buy the products for me. And I promise you, I will spend more money than they will, because they don't have money.
Yeah.
They're still on my dime. Right. So if it goes through me, then it's a brand that I'm going to stick with. And I want to be that brand.
Yeah. You need to read, I'll tell you about this later, but we're putting out a biannual magazine. It's in print right now.
I like it.
So, and there's an article in there about being a perennial, what it means to be a perennial. And you're going to love this article. And it's written by Gina Pell, a friend of mine from up north.
I love it.
So
I want to read.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned for that.
I like this.
So, you had talked a bit ago about the strategy, and you've been mentioning it as you go, whether it's focusing on Facebook for the consumer base that you want to really influence, or what you said earlier was, don't forget, this is a business. We're trying to convert people.
Right.
When you look at social media, how does your strategy to get them to convert inform what you're posting?
That's a fine line.
Yeah.
You talk to a social media person, then you talk to a marketing person, and then you talk to an owner of a business, and they're going to give you 3 different answers.
Sure.
Everybody's got a different angle and different way they see it and view it, and what they see and view as success.
So let me just, if we could assign, I have some assumptions, correct me. The business owner wants to convert. The social media person wants to grow followers and likes and engagement. And the marketing person sees it as a cog in a bigger wheel.
So a little bit different.
Okay.
The marketer wants to convert because it's his numbers. Okay. The business owner wants to see the bottom line. Because yes, you're getting a conversion, but you're spending X amount of dollars over here.
Oh, great distinction.
Right.
How much is it costing you, whether it's dealing with influencers or hiring somebody to manage your social media? Great distinction.
Yeah. Because I've had people come back at me and say, well, we had 1 million impressions, or we've had
what did it cost?
6 times conversions. You know what I mean? And okay, but how much did it cost us to get there?
Yeah.
And by the way, and if that's great, and if you've got a great conversion, a great impression, people are talking about you and everything else, and it's all coming and your sales are going up, that's great. But if they're not, or your engagement's not going up, from the business owner side, because my marketing guy is not necessarily looking at my engagements. My social media person is looking at engagements, but isn't looking at conversions, and I'm looking at the whole thing and how much it's costing me altogether.
So when you approach social media, you're approaching it with somebody who has decided that there's a certain amount of investment that's going to go into this. What would you say to the person who's starting up, who doesn't have that kind of capital to put towards social and is doing it themselves?
Okay, so I got to tell you, it's the best way for them to start. And it doesn't take a lot of capital.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part, because what you're trying to do is really get your brand out there, right? Okay. And the more people that come to your website to buy, you got to look at the overall, like if a person's buying one time, they might buy a second time and a third time, because when you get them at your website, then you've got your emails and you've captured them, and you could really build a great brand from that. You don't necessarily build
and at that point, it really relies on the product.
That's the product right there.
The product has to sell for the second order.
And then, your overall value of your client is so much more. But my theory is just start. I know so many people who just don't. I know 2 companies that do well that never advertised on Facebook. And I was like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Just
what
for
have
somebody
you missed
to look
out on
at your website, somebody to look, just another person to see. It costs you $5. You could do it from your phone. Target, if you have a business, right? Let's say you just have a business, a brick and mortar business. And if you haven't targeted everybody in your zip code, like go close your doors.
Yeah.
Like go close your doors. I mean, I don't understand what you're doing. It's so simple, and it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah. I think there's an intimidation with anything that people think they have to purchase to advertise, market, get their, it feels like it's so far from the creation of the product or the service. And yet again, that's why it's a business. Like we're building this so they will buy this so we can find the margin and hopefully put some of that in our pocket. And people are women,
right,
who don't take as much risk. This is data information, or this is data that I'm collecting that has been collected. This isn't me just saying this. They're less likely to take risks, and there's something about spending money on, in this particular bit of information, it's on advertising, but let's bundle it into the bigger marketing question or the bigger marketing issue. They're afraid, or they feel like it's frivolous spending on the business, and it's not. There's not a long-term vision when they're thinking about that, whether it's public relations, whether it's, and look, I've suffered from it too. It's like, let's figure out how to do, or the money isn't there, I think is probably the other thing. It's not just fear.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. You don't have $5?
No, sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But I want to be fair to the people who are listening that they don't know it's $5.
Right.
So what I'm saying is you're saying
so
you can do that $5 investment and it can be meaningful.
I'm going to save some business owner who's listening to this right now a ton of money.
Save us.
So they could save this money and they could put it into like their Facebook advertising. Mm-hmm. Okay. First of all, if you're going to build an online platform or if you have a brick and mortar and you're thinking about building an online platform, don't get scared. Go straight to Shopify. Get one of their free themes. Okay. Yeah. Have them build out your thing. They actually have people that'll build out for you for a couple $100. Yeah. Do not go and spend like $5,000-$6,000 on this. Right. And that's your first time. Like go do it just to have something up there. That's one. So now I just saved you $5,000 or $6,000. Okay.
Divide that by 5.
Okay. Divide that by right.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. Yeah. Divide that by $5. Right. Pick out zip codes that are all around you.
Yeah.
Run an ad with a picture of your business or talk about something so special about your business that somebody wouldn't know about.
Yeah.
Something to catch somebody's eye. Make it a great picture, make it cute, make it pretty, make it something. Catch their eye.
Yeah.
Spend $5 and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you did something in addition to the work that you're doing on Facebook and Instagram. You put out some video through YouTube, and I watched your video.
You did?
Because I wanted to know a little bit more about you, but it was interesting. I was like, this is a great encapsulated way of telling a story and getting to know you. There was no product in what I saw.
There wasn't? I got to look at my YouTube stuff.
But no, but I mean, maybe some of them had, but there's one on the site in particular. And then there was one, it was a green Green Tuesday or Tuesday tip, and you were wearing green earrings and you had your Seattle Seahawks hat. Yes. But there's things that you're doing that really inform us as a customer or potential customer, like a little bit about you, your why, a little bit about the product and what goes into it. In this case, what doesn't go into it.
Right.
And it's sort of like, I know her. She's my friend. It's like I'm buying from my friend.
Right.
How intentional was that in creating video to promote the brand, to get the word out about the brand? Or was that just like, she's cute. Let's put her on video and see if we can sell something.
No, it was actually the total opposite. For anybody, I think when you're first starting out to say that something was super intentional, I mean, it has to be like, you literally
you can lie and say,
I'm not going to. I'm
going
to tell you the truth. Yeah. It's, you fly by the seat of your pants half the time. And I will tell you that I got to see the videos, but I have a feeling there's one that literally half the stuff, it was at my friend's store.
Yeah.
And like half the vases next to me fell over during the video, and we're trying to figure out how to like get it out.
Yes.
And how many people like looked at it and went, okay, those are crap. You got to redo those and you have to get them higher quality and you have to do this. And quite honestly, none of those were ever scripted. And I think, with all of everything we do in freedom is the freedom to kind of be free and do whatever you want. Like, people see the passion I have in this. It's kind of hard to hide. I kind of wear it on my sleeve. So the one thing I noticed when we were first starting was it was about me being passionate about our products, and what we do, and remembering what Cindy felt like when she called me crying. You know what I mean? Remembering that moment. And I think it's like almost contagious, right? And that's what I want people to get is like, this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. I don't want you to be scared. I don't want you to feel like you're doing something so horrible and different. I want you to be excited to buy our product. I want you to know it's going to work. I want you to know that we're with you. We know how you feel and we're there, and that's just what we try to relay in all the videos, which, by the way, have to be redone.
No, but they don't, because I think the fact that they're not, and they look great, by the way. So I'm not saying they're not highly produced. You said that, but I think that makes it more trustworthy. Well, it's a little bit of like, this is just them getting out the story. there's not a $30,000 team of people and cameras and everything there. And so it reads less like a commercial and more like a story.
So I don't like things that are too scripted. I don't. I think the rigidity in life is one of the things that I least like in so many different ways. It's just, I'm a girl. I'm an immigrant. I'm a single mom. I don't have the stuff going for me. Like, I didn't come from Harvard. English is my second language and I barely even know how to spell half the time. Thank God for spell check.
I am absolutely sure that there's a correlation between bad spellers and entrepreneurship.
I think
that's
so
another
too.
episode.
So
anyway,
but seriously.
No lie.
And it took me like a year to figure out how to spell deodorant, and I own a company, right?
Okay.
By the way,
spell entrepreneurship. Yeah.
I can't.
Go ahead.
I can't. I really can't. So, I think it had to do with like, I did what everybody else wanted me to do for so long. I got married. I had the corporate job. I worked out a lot. I didn't like that. And babies. I had the babies, and I had to do this. And every time I tried to do what everybody else wanted me to do, it wasn't me, right? And now I guess I'm, mid 40s, and, things are like falling apart and like you're putting them back together. And how much more time do we have to do what everybody else wants you to do? Right. I created a company because I wanted this for myself. I know there's other people that are going to enjoy it just as well. And I'm really excited about that, and I want people to know why we did this. And I don't think I could even keep to a script if they gave it to me.
Sure.
I really have a bad memory. I do. And, but I don't want it to come off scripted. This is my story. It's nobody else's story. So let me impair that and show that. And I hope other people get it. Like, we've got a video coming out, like I swear half my head is cut off, but it was so like genuine, because it was exactly how I felt at that moment, that I was like, let's put this out.
Let me say this.
Let me say this.
So you just set up the last question, which is, you've talked about it sort of, kind of, I've done what I was supposed to do. And now I just want to do what I feel called to do, what I feel moved to do, we talked about nagging in the first part of this interview. What would you say to a woman? So the statistic behind this is that women are outpacing men in starting businesses, but they're also outpacing men in failing. Now, some of it is just a numbers game, but you being a numbers person, you understand that, it's 1 in 5 are going to succeed. And so if we have more trying, then we're going to have more failing. But I believe it's also that women are new as a generation to this entrepreneurial game on their own, not the mom and pop thing, but really on their own. And so how do we help support and scaffold other women to create the success that you're experiencing, that you're on the road to experiencing more of? Like, what do we need to do?
So I learned a really hard lesson recently. We started a fundraise, because I was like, oh my God, why are we raising money? I'm like, oh yeah, we got to grow. That's right. Because it's one thing nobody tells you is, even though your company does well, with competition and everything else, it really doesn't hurt you to bring in other investors, other minds, other money to really scale it, because if you look at anything in Silicon Valley, that's all they do, is bring in money. And I thought, well, how hard can this be? Like, we were profitable, we did well. We've got
We
these
look
great
good.
locations.
Everything looks
like
good.
Everything's right. And oh my gosh, it has been a very humbling experience to say the least. And what I realized, and I love this question so much, and I wish that people talked about it more because, were you ever raised to talk business? Did you ever talk business with your buddies or anything like that? No, we never talked about it. We talked about, we're going to get a boyfriend, we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to do this, we're going to travel there. My house is going to look like this. I want to buy this dress, blah, blah, blah. Right? I mean, did I just sum up all the way up to 28? And yeah, never drink wine after beer. Like, stuff like that. Right? So, and I'll hold your hair.
Yeah.
And
totally.
Okay.
An important part.
This is the life of a girl growing up, at least,
Yeah.
Guys don't do that. Okay. Guys talk about business. Guys talk about, what do you want to do? What are you going to major in? Where are you going to go? Hey, I know this guy. I know that guy. Let me introduce you to this person. Maybe we could get you an internship here. My dad was a business person, blah, 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 blah. Let's hang out. Let's talk money. Let's talk business. Right. They will talk about girls. They'll probably talk about football, but they'll talk about business a lot. And we missed that whole 20 years, right? So we kind of came in the back way of, I'm going to build a business now. All right, great, let's go. I had a woman once tell me recently, whose husband sold a pretty big company. And I said, can I talk to him? We've got a great opportunity, everything else. The first thing she said to me was, don't ask him for money. I go, do you tell his guy friends that when they go golfing on the golf course? Because I bet you she doesn't. And they get investments all day long. And they get introductions all day long.
How did she respond to that?
I just looked at her and I was like,
yeah.
Wow. I couldn't believe it because I was like, wow, I'm building a business, a successful one on top of it, because you have no problem asking me to bring you samples all day long. But God forbid I go to somebody who has done this before, ask him for advice, help, whether it's introduce me to somebody or whatever. And you don't want me to do it.
Okay. I want to ask you something.
Shoot.
Do you think that's her? Do you feel like she was the one that missed the point, the opportunity to connect you with her husband? Or do you believe that she was potentially protecting you from a person, happens to be a man,
right,
who wasn't going to take you seriously when you asked him for money because you were a woman?
Okay. Either way.
I'm not saying either way it's okay. I'm
Right.
saying, which do you think it was?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say that I know what's in her mind, but I know for a fact that my guy friends that have gone out and done this don't get responses like that.
Yeah.
And or they get the, let me introduce you to somebody. I might know somebody for you in this realm, or this. They get taken much more seriously. I still get the, how's that little soap company you've got, And I'm like, we don't even do soap, but it's a good idea for the future.
Yeah. Yes, I do know. I do know.
Right. So it's, I think as women, we need to support each other more. As women, we should be saying, you know what? My husband knows a few people. Like, why don't I get you in front of them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have something you could send me? Let me see what your term sheet looks like. Or, you know what? I used to do design back in the day. Like, do you need any help with something?
Yeah.
Like, have the conversations. Like, okay, where do you want to get into? Like, I had a friend of mine call. I think you did too. I knew somebody over there. Okay, let me make a phone call, introduce you. Women don't do that. We don't. Some do. Business women nowadays are getting better at it. That's all guys do. So I think when you're trying to build a business and you have, and it's called the boys club. The guys support each other. You're going to have a stronger business when you have a better community supporting each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you another stat. You're going to love this. My 2 competitors that just sold, okay? One was started by a man, okay? And it was because his sister couldn't find a deodorant, and he thought this is a great model, who also sold 2 businesses from Harvard Business School.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few connections there,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The other ones was started by a woman, but a male VC came in and took over as co-founder and CEO and sold the company. Why didn't she sell it? What did he have that she didn't have? Connections. What did the other one have that somebody else didn't? He came from Harvard and sold 2 businesses.
Yeah.
He can make a phone call. I think for women getting to that next level, we could all start. Right? It's very few that get through to the next level. And I think that's that middle ground that we have to focus on to help women out.
And to support one another. So you just did an infomercial or an ad for Liberty. Because we're launching a membership, which is to get women connected to each other to support one another.
I think that's awesome.
We'll talk about
can I be a member?
You can be a member, and we're going to use that somehow.
I love it.
So thank you for that. I think there were lots of nuggets in what you just said. And I also want to say to all our millennial sisters who are out there who are learning from what you've seen your mothers go through, what you're listening to today, like the opportunity is there, and start talking about your futures, start investing in one another, start talking about business. And for the women who are closer to your age and my age, we need to start having those conversations because we have the experience, we have the know-how, we come armed and ready for business. So all we got to do is believe that we are. So thank you for that. I feel empowered just listening to you.
Yes.
So before we let you go, we do this one part of our interview called the Quick Six.
Shoot.
So I'm going to ask you 6 questions, just whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
Do you prefer a 9 to 5 or a flex schedule?
Flex all day long. What is 9 to 5? It's so structured.
I know. The other thing that non-spellers, flex schedule people, and entrepreneurs all. Do you like vacationing in the mountains or the beach?
The forest. I like trees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Napa.
Oh,
I could hang there.
Oh,
yeah.
So mountains, wine, vineyard, okay.
Yes, a forest on a mountain overlooking the beach.
Okay, done. You just let me know where that is and we'll go. Do you like working from home or an office?
Actually, I know this is going to shock people.
Yeah.
An office.
No, I don't think it is. We just, more and more we're hearing people say, like, I can be focused in an office. The laundry's not staring at me.
Oh, I love you. That's I'm not washing the dishes. I'm not cleaning up my kid's room. Yeah.
I feel there's a lot of shame. I work from my home. The dishes are shaming me. The laundry's shaming me.
You're never
my
good enough.
10-year-old is shaming me.
Enough.
Like, I got to go to the office. Do you like working alone or with a team?
Oh, a team.
Yeah.
I love people.
Do you need that alone time to
I do.
Be more visionary? And
so I think, again, happy medium.
Yeah.
I think when the team's right and you get inspired by the people around you, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to build a business where I'm doing it all myself.
Yeah.
I really want to empower the people around me and watch them grow along with me.
Amen.
But then on the flip side, I sometimes need nobody to speak to me.
Yeah.
I do. It's usually later on at night. I love flying because I get that time. Yes. I know it's horrible, but
I flew a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I was flying to New York and people were like, "Oh, it's this flight." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?
I think this is awesome.
5 hours with nobody talking to me. This is heaven. I'm going to get so much done."
Oh my God. You got to join the clubs too. You know what I mean? You go sit in the club. Oh
yeah.
Nobody's coming at you asking you questions. It's awesome. Yes.
I know. It's weird. This is the hardest question by far. Thai or Mexican food?
Thai, Mexican fusion, both.
Okay. New answer. Never heard that.
Well, why not? I mean,
that sounds like a truck. That sounds like a truck like a food truck.
It could be the next business.
Yeah. Okay. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Yeah. Freedom plus liberty equals Thai Mexican.
Right. There you go.
And then this podcast is called Liberty Sessions. Our brand is called Liberty. What does it mean for you to be liberated?
Freedom.
Yeah. I knew you were going to
so good again. You're looking at me like she's going to go
exactly
there.
What she's
so
going to
go there.
Freedom.
But that's exactly what it means.
Yeah. I love that. Ira, thank you for being with us. Thank you so much for being with us. It's been a pleasure. And thanks for hauling it out to LA from Vegas. Maybe you can take some of this temperate weather with you.
Stay here.
And Liberty listeners, thanks again for hanging with us. And I'm sure you've learned a lot in this podcast interview. And check out the show notes for all things about Ira and her brand, Freedom, and freedomdeodorant.com if you want to head over there. Liberty Road is broadcast on all platforms: Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and more. If you like what you've heard, please follow, rate, and review Liberty Road on Apple Podcast and Spotify. It helps us to know if these episodes are inspiring and equipping you to move into your middle third with intention. Liberty Road is created by executive producer Netta Jones, supervising producer Elizabeth Wyndham, producer Julia Wyndham, and music by Jack Jones.
When you wake up well-rested on a great mattress, everything becomes clear.
I do make everything about me.
Things you missed when you were tired finally reveal themselves.
My passport is in the pocket of the duffel bag I took to Mexico.
At Mattress Firm, we know the right mattress matters. We also know that price does too. So if you see a lower price somewhere else, we'll match it. Plus, you get free and fast delivery. Shop in-store or online at mattressfirm.com. The right mattress matters. We'll find yours. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
What does innovation sound like? It sounds like the luxury of being in the moment with your customer, client, or patient. It sounds like having the right information